Populations will grow exponentially in the absence of any sort of pressure or disturbance. Exponential growth is shown here in this upward curve. You can see that this type of growth occurs when the y-axis number, in this case population size, grows in proportion to the current size of the population. In other words, the larger the population, the faster it grows. While all populations can experience some exponential growth, it's not something that can be sustained indefinitely. Reduction factors are the pressures that keep populations in check, cause them to level off or at least slow down for a period of time. The term carrying capacity is a functional term that biologists use to understand the maximum size of a population that can be sustained in a given environment without causing environmental damage. So in this figure, that's the leveling off that you see. As you can imagine, carrying capacity is fluid. It depends upon the number of interferences, including things like climate change and food web alterations, human harvesting, hunting, introduction of invasive species, and reintroduction of species. There are two types of pressures that reduce populations: density-dependent reduction factors, as you're going to see here, as well as density-independent reduction factors, which we'll look at next. Density-dependent reduction factors occur when a population grows so much that they begin to limit their own growth by competing with one another for resources. Take the example of the desert locust, which can explode in population under the right conditions. These swarms can contain millions of grasshoppers, which decimate any edible food in their path. Have you ever wondered what happens to swarms like this? Well, eventually they run out of food, which kills off many of the locusts and causes their population to level off and be more manageable. A locust swarm in the millions has exceeded its carrying capacity and is not sustainable due to competition within the group for food. Species can be limited through competition for other resources as well, such as finding a mate, habitat for breeding, or hiding. Another type of density-dependent reduction factor is communicable diseases. Diseases caused by viruses that affect the survivorship of individuals will limit population growth because viruses depend upon a host to spread. As a population becomes more crowded, the virus spreads. Damage from the disease increases as density increases, which can reduce the populations. Finally, populations can be limited by predation. In this example, hare populations are limited by lynx and vice versa. As the hare populations increase, so do lynx populations. But as lynx populations increase and they consume the hares, then the hare population starts decreasing. This continues on indefinitely. You may wonder how carrying capacity fits into a situation like this, where populations are always fluctuating. Predation as a reduction factor falls on the logistic growth curve. Barring any other reduction factors, predation will cycle along the carrying capacity for both species. Populations can also be reduced from density-independent reduction factors. These factors have nothing to do with the density of a population in a given area. Instead, these events are due to chance. A forest fire may decimate a population of fir trees, or dam breaking may flood the banks of a river, submerging and killing plant species, or a logging event may destroy bird and insect species. In all of these examples, the population is reduced indiscriminately by a random event. Over time, these events can cause crashes and even extinctions in species at risk. At-risk populations are usually those like the Florida panther, where there aren't many individuals and there's low genetic diversity. For most populations, though, given enough time, they're able to exponentially grow again until density-dependent reduction factors or another independent reduction factor causes them to level off or to crash. All populations have the capability of growing without limits. Natural feedback from density-dependent reduction factors prohibit that from happening indefinitely. Although with the human species, we have used technology to short-circuit those reduction factors to allow us to live above our carrying capacity. Random events can also cause temporary reductions in populations. When populations are reduced, it allows for other species in the area to gain a foothold or to increase their population, increasing overall biodiversity. In fact, mild to moderate disturbances are actually one of the reasons why we have so much diversity on Earth.